Hello, I'm Michael Francis, Music Director of the Mani Mozart Festival. Welcome to this, another short episode in our Listening with the Maestro series. And today we're looking at Mozart's Piano Concerto number 21, perhaps his most beloved of all his piano concertos. Well, for me to understand Mozart means to understand a life with other people, a life in the hubbub of a city. We're here in the grounds of Eton College, just near Windsor Castle, in west of London, where I'm self-isolating for a period before going to conduct some concerts in Germany. And the grounds here are so beautiful that we know that Beethoven, the sort of more of a loner composer, would have loved to have walked and found inspiration here. Mahler always composed in the summer where he could walk in the Austrian Alps. Edward Elgar would always compose in the Malvern Hills, walking each day. But for Mozart, he always lived in a city. It wasn't the quiet isolation from life that gave him inspiration, it was that teeming busyness. The thing about being a composer is that it almost gives you a diplomatic passport to run up and down the social rungs, as high as the emperor and as low as a servant. If you have artistic excellence, you're welcomed everywhere. And Mozart was the most artistically excellent of all. He was perhaps more famous as a pianist in his time, and he was an irascible showman, tremendous entrepreneur. He lived the majority of his compositional life outside of the patronage of a great benefactor, like the emperor or the archbishop or some other wealthy prince, for example, Prince Esterhazy with Haydn, which meant that his entrepreneurial spirit came to the fore, and these piano concertos were a subscription model. In fact, the subscription model that we still adhere to today, buying for a series of concerts in advance, hoping for quality. That came from Mozart. And Mozart's capacity to write in all the various genres is, of course, well known. His amazing symphonies, tremendous chamber music, and his peerless operas, which seem to have a surgical capacity to dissect the subtleties of society, cutting through all the hypocrisies, putting his finger in the little peccadilloes, the humour. And he loved these people, and also laughed at them as well. So here in his piano concertos, we see what I believe is the purest sense of Mozart. He wrote so many letters that we understand him very well, perhaps better than most composers in his short 35 years. But here you understand his psyche far better. Piano Concerto number 21. If we look at around it, the Piano Concerto number 20 was in D minor, dark, brooding romanticism, almost a foretaste of Don Giovanni, looking forward to the deep, melancholic work even of Beethoven and Mendelssohn, way ahead of its time. And he tends to pair dark and light pieces together. I'm thinking of the C major string quintet immediately followed by the G minor quintet. Of course, the G minor symphony followed by his last symphony, the Jupiter Symphony in C major. So it's quite common for him to go from extremes emotionally. And here in the C major Piano Concerto number 21, we have trumpets and we have drums, which adds a military connotation. It isn't just a sonic experience, it is also an example of characterization. Can you hear the aeroplane above me? I'm going to still keep talking. It's good signs that there is aeroplanes because it means that there's busy life heading over to America, I'm sure. Bye! But here, in this piece, it feels like we start the piano concerto in this playful softness in the strings and these little interjections as if the action takes place near a military barracks. And when I listen to these concertos, and this is only my tip, is I tend to listen to them in a more of an anthropomorphic way. I imagine the opera scene on the stage, that there are various characters. And so when the winds come in with bum, bum, ba bum, bum, ba bum, 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 and then the violins continue, just at the very beginning of this concerto, it feels like we're watching people interplay with each other. There's a drama, there's a story, there's a narrative. There's a heroine, there's a hero, there's a pompous figure. And then when everyone comes in and the tuttis, we're taken into unusual harmonic worlds straight away. He shows the complication of life, not just the simple caricatures, but indeed that everybody is multidimensional. And when the piano arrives, it really is rather bewildering. It isn't some great massive entrance announcing the hero. What we notice, he just does a little turn, and then you go, oh, our soloist has been sat on a stool observing everything around them in the scene already, and then just suddenly unleashes his disguise and appears before us, followed by a long trill, and then it carries on. And the first movement is this brilliant separation of the piano with its own material and the orchestra. And there seems to be almost like the piano is way above us, like Apollo daring to come down and interact with us. And a lot of the concertos, you feel them working things out together, like there's some sort of common goal. But here it does at times feel like they are in different worlds, which the worlds collide, he interacts, shows us a better way, and carries on. And of course, all the pauses would have had amazing improvisations from Mozart live there and then. The second movement is one of the most famous movements, and the film Elvira Madigan, the 1960s Swedish film about the two star-crossed lovers who end up, well, tragic in the end of the story, has really sort of propelled that into something more famous. But actually, as a piece of music, it is one of the most extraordinary examples of Mozart's capacity to understand the human soul. It begins so simply with this throbbing, muted strings, bum, 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 bum. Just like a gentle arioso, and you think this is going to be something so innocent, a young girl singing of her first love. But then when the winds come in, these chords suddenly turn dark. And listen to the writing of the high bassoon. There's this sort of tenor, there's a pain immediately in it. Then the oboe continues and carries on with the violins and the flutes. And we find ourselves into something profound so early. If it is an aria, it's an aria laced with understanding of unrequited love, of mature appreciation of light and darkness. And it's also amazing because the piano is an instrument of decay. As soon as you hit the sound, it starts to stop. It's not like a string which you can contain. And so the sound just will decay, but how he sings a long cantilena line through that is just a miracle. So then when we come back into the third movement, he plays around with us. He leaves us feeling a little discombobulated. The music starts but is it or is it I mean, how do you dance to it? So immediately you know you're in a sense of fun. This is opera buffa. This is the playful spirit of Mozart. And that sense of hijinks is almost a foretaste of Marriage of Figaro, of Così fan tutte, of that playfulness in which the world is just excited and there's complications and there's misunderstandings and there's wrong identity, and he leaves us with a sense of joy and effervescence and just marvelous fun. Mozart is one of the greatest, alongside Shakespeare, alongside Dickens, of understanding who we are. And he's so great that he doesn't just show us our own roles in society, pointing out our flaws, pointing out our strengths. He bears himself for us. And it's in this second movement here that he does it so wonderfully well. So I hope you enjoyed. There's many wonderful recordings. My very first concert with mainly Mozart was with John Kimura Parker playing Mozart Piano Concerto No. 21. My first concert as music director, that is. And then last year we had a chance to perform it with Jeremy Denk. This piece is always glorious. So put on your headphones, listen to this piece as a masterful example of social commentary. Thank you very much.